We gather here today on land known as Ndakina, to the Nulhegan Abenaki tribe, the original inhabitants of this land. In this season, we give special thanks for the majestic maple trees who provide not only beauty and shade and homes for our animal neighbors, but also sweetness to our lives. We strive to learn from the original people how to live with respect for the land and waters in harmony with nature and each other. Now please join together in singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Good morning. All of you who remember to set your clocks ahead. Welcome to this Sunday morning service at the Champlain Valley Unitarian Universalist Society, CVUUS. Welcome to those of you who are here, those watching on Zoom, and those who will find us later online. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever joys and concerns and burdens you bring with you today, you are welcome here to join us in community as we live, learn, and love together. This is Sunday, March 9th, when we finish our pledge drive for our continuing operations and for an ambitious and impressive, seemingly impossible, but I don't know, capital campaign. I know I can hardly wait to hear how we did. There's been good news all along. It's been a month of a lot of work by a lot of people. Our campaign stewards making calls, making more calls, visiting, conversing, inspiring, reporting. So I'd like to do a special shout out to those who have been our visiting stewards. And I'd like to ask you to stand because you have made this happen. Look at them all. Yes. Imagine there's been a lot of phone tag played by those people who just stood up. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts and roots and wings. Thank you for making this happen. It's not too late, by the way, to make another gift or pledge, especially after you hear an inspiring testimony from Elio Farley, who you will hear from later. If you're here for the first time, please fill out one of these blue cards on the table in the lobby so that we can be in touch and get to know you better. And if you need hearing assistance, there are headsets available from the tech team in the back of the sanctuary. My name is Abi Sessions. I am a member of this congregation and of the worship team. And it's my pleasure today to serve as worship associate for one of our two interim ministers, Christina Sillari. I would like to invite Jacob Lovin to come forward. If you've been paying attention to the slideshow, which I encourage you to do, you have seen some beautiful artistic photographs taken by Jacob and assembled into the slideshow by Liam Batches. And I'd like to invite you to join us in the chalice lighting, which is on your screen and in your order of service. Come together again, gather in love, light the fire of hope, build the foundation, commit together again, gather in truth, light the fire of freedom, build the entryways, continue together again, gather in community, light the fire of the future, build the shelter. Thank you, Jacob.
Good morning. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Jacob. I do want to say that chalice lighting was created by a Unitarian Universalist community minister, and she's also Indigenous, a mother, and an activist, Kai Bordner. Our opening words are by Henry Nouwen from his book, Reaching Out, The Three Movements of a Spiritual Life. Hospitality means primarily the creation of free space where the stranger can enter and become a friend instead of an enemy. Hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them space where change can take place. It is not to bring people over to our side, but to offer freedom, not disturbed by dividing lines. We're going to sing a hymn, and Anne is graciously playing for us. She's new to our community, and it's Come, Come, Whoever You Are. The words are going to be on the screen. It's number 188 in the hymnal. And do we have a choir member? Okay, you're enough, Anne. Go for it. Is this on? Yes, 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 yes. I would love it if any children that want to would come up here. You don't have to, but I would love it if you did. Hi. Hello. All right. We're good. You don't have to look at them. You can look at me. I'm going to tell you something. We're going to do something together. Oh, Maya's coming. Come on, Maya. So I thought I would do a little thing today about saying hello, which is a form of hospitality. Do you know what that word means, hospitality? Sort of, yeah. That's my whole sermon's about it. So, but it's people greet one another as a way of being friendly and kind and helping people feel welcome, right? So and people do it in different spiritual traditions. So when I grew up, I grew up in the Catholic Church, partially, and my favorite part of the whole service was when we said peace to each other. And the way we did it was we said peace, and we shook hands. Peace. Hello. Peace. We have to shake hands. Want to shake hands? There we go. Peace. I'd like all of you to try that. Think they'll do it? Maybe. There we go. Look at, they're all doing it. Wow. We could do this all morning. Okay. So in the Jewish tradition, if we were Jewish, then we would say, does anyone know the word for peace in Hebrew? Yes, good job. Shalom. So let's do that. Let's say the shalom to each other. Shalom. Shalom. They're doing it. Go ahead, you can do it too. Okay, the next one is more challenging. It's the Muslim greeting, right? So in Islam, they say, As-salam alaikum. And that means peace or safety upon you. I'll say it again. As-salam alaikum. Try that with each other. Good job. As-salam alaikum. As-salam alaikum. So the interesting thing about what's similar about all those three greetings? Right, peace. They all have the word peace, and what else? They're all a greeting, and the other interesting thing is they all are monotheistic religions. They all believe in one God. Okay? The Quakers, does anyone know what the Quakers do? They do silent meeting, and how do they greet? You know how they greet each other? They say, what do they say? I'm a little nervous here. I never do the time for all ages. They say, it's on the back, I will hold you in the light. Light. Yes, beautiful. Say it again.
I will hold you in the light.
Right, let's try that with each other. Look at each other and say, I will hold you in the light.
I will hold you. Oh, no.
And then one of my favorites that I did for years and years and years when I was practicing Hinduism is Namaste. And that means I honor the light within you. And this is how you do this one. You can all try that with each other. Namaste. Namaste. So we as Unitarian Universalists do not have a way of greeting each other. Some congregations create one. We have a little bit of one, which is we look at each other during the offertory when we sing. But you know what? I have a problem with that. A few problems with it. One, you know what? The children are not here when we do it. So I'm wondering if in the near future we can create a greeting in the service when the children are still here for each other and our children. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's time for you to go with the other children to your RE program.
And right on cue, here is Elio.
I totally thought Abby was stalling for me when I came into church late. I was like, oh no, am I starting service with this? Hello, happy Sunday. Today's the last day of the Roots and Wings campaign, which is pretty exciting. I was invited to give a testimony about this place, talking about, the ways that this place has tethered me and let me thrive. And it wasn't explicitly stated, but because this is a financial thing, also maybe in hopes of inspiring a bit more money. So I'll be honest. I have alternative ploys. Okay, so 2 years ago, I came here for the first time. Y'all invited me to give a service for Trans Day of Visibility, and I gave a piece called A Call to Hope, Trans is Sacred. Speaking quickly. And I mentioned during that service that this is my first time in an affirming congregation. Many of you remember, because I was like, oh, I don't actually know how to talk to people that believe in both God and maybe some of you do, some of you don't, believe in some sort of a something, and also are like, yeah, gay people, thumbs up. What I didn't mention is that was my first church service period since I stopped being Catholic 3 years prior. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and since then, I've done another service. We've had 2 years of friendship, hundreds of postcards. It's been a really lovely time. I really like this place. I brag to my friends my age that I have a bunch of oldies in my life, and it makes me really happy. We're at a 1-to-1 ratio, friends my age and friends over 50. It's awesome. Okay, so one of the things that was really important to me when I was a Catholic that I've still continued is tithing. In some traditions, you give 10% of your income to the church. My parents are not really, they're kind of Catholic, but kind of not. And they would generally do okay, let's figure out how much. They would intentionally put the resources towards things that they care about. Maybe it was a church, maybe it was a food pantry, whatever it was. And growing up, I got, however, what my age was every single month. So when I was 6, every month I would get $6. And I would put 60 cents of that, and I would put it in a really pretty blue box. And then when there was enough in that box, I would usually take it to the food pantry. Sometimes I would take it to church, but I would try to distribute. And so that's something I've continued as an adult now that I don't make adult money. But something that I've been trying to do. And I'm in this moment where I just graduated college, and everything is up in the air professionally, because all grants are up in the air, and I've had to put together a lot of different jobs to figure out how to pay rent. And so there's this question of like, okay, how do I go to my congregation that I really care about and I say, hey, this is a place that's really worthy of investment? Because I know that so many of us are in really tough financial times. So whether it's because we're on a fixed income or whether it's because whatever has been happening has just like messed with our baselines, and that's okay. I've been trying to shift how I think about money to think about resources more generally. How do I give of my resources, whether it's, sure, it could be money, but it could also be time, and it could be emotional energy. And I spend a lot of my life giving to other people, and that's okay. Sorry, I wrote more of a thing, but I wake up at 4 a.m. for my job, and so my brain isn't working too well right now, because it is the day I sleep in. Anyway, I've appreciated being able to be part of this church. It's been really wonderful to grow in relationship with you all. It's been so wonderful to come to services and like see how tangibly people in this room care for each other and care for the people outside this room. It's so wonderful to be able to just like show up as I am and as we are and not feel like I need to be someone different than myself to be loved. That is such a lovely gift to this place. It's really silly to like take off my shoes before coming into church and like when I get ready for my day try to figure out what socks I should wear. Yeah, and it's been really just delightful to tell people, particularly people who grew up in conservative religions, about this place and say like, hey, if you ever want to come, you're welcome to come. They're not going to like try to tell you what to think. It's just going to be a space where you can listen to something that's interesting and be around kind people and have pretty decent coffee after. Yeah, I've been really grateful for this place. Part of why I've stayed in Vermont, Middlebury specifically, is because of this place. I know that if/when I move, I would need to move to a place that had a thriving UU congregation. That's become like kind of how I decide where to live at this point, which is fun and also weird. Yeah, I'm just really grateful to know all of you and to be in your lives, and I look forward to the party after. Thanks.
Steve and Heidi, I believe, have news.
Before I begin, I'm just going to say, you need the mic. Oh, but I'm going to do an action. Okay. You are a superstar.
I think she said you are superstars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome back from Arizona, Steve and Priscilla. It's nice to have you here on this final Sunday. And we have incredibly exciting news. We have made it. We have actually surpassed, as of this morning, the capital campaign. So... already out of date. So we'll update you at coffee hour, but as of last night, there were 70 gifts that comprise the capital campaign. And we are thrilled, and it is all because of you, our collective community and our friends beyond CVUUS as well. So that's part A. We can talk more at luncheon. Part B is that we are really, really, really close to our goal on the annual pledge. And that might have changed as well since last night, but we were at 87% last night. So we cannot thank you enough for your participation, opening your homes, your generosity, and everything else that has contributed to the success of this campaign.
And let me just say, it's not too late. Thanks, Abby, for saying that before. So we can reinforce that. Please make a pledge today, make a gift today if you're ready to do that. If you're not today, we would still love to hear from you over the next several weeks. We'll be sweeping and cleaning and trying to get in touch with folks that we haven't heard from yet. But we'll probably stop doing announcements at the service, and things will sort of taper off. But I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Priscilla and I have been away, and it's been incredible to see it and watch it from a distance and come back to this energy and these results. And it's a little almost overwhelming, so I appreciate everything. Thank you.
And I just want to say a special shout out to the visiting stewards because you were amazing. And I typed that in my little updates, and you can't feel my energy, but it's very sincere. You were really awesome, so thank you.
And if you have questions, we'll be downstairs afterward. Visiting stewards, stand up again. So if you find one of these people at a table downstairs and you have some questions, please, please, please.
Thank you, everyone, for this achievement. And thank you, Elio, for your moving testimony. There are other pathways by which we connect with one another other than sharing of our resources. If you're wondering about membership or considering membership, you're invited to explore with us Unitarian Universalism in general and all about Champlain Valley Unitarian Universalist Society on 2 consecutive Sundays, March 23rd and March 30th. There will be groups led by the welcoming team in the Blue Room downstairs at 12 o'clock. So not next Sunday, but the following Sunday and the Sunday after that. If you're interested in learning about Unitarian Universalism or this congregation and this congregation in particular, you are welcome to be there. You can see any member of the welcoming team, and Martha Fulda, can you stand again, Martha, will be at a table downstairs with more information for those of you interested in membership. And the Death Cafe, those of you who've gotten to know Christina a little bit know that she's very interested in death. Death Cafe is happening this Wednesday evening on Zoom at 6 p.m. with Reverend Christina. At a Death Cafe, people gather to discuss death. Our objective, she says, is to increase awareness of death with the view to helping people make the most of their finite lives. No specific agenda, objectives, or themes. It's a discussion group, not a grief support group or counseling session. A Zoom link will be sent in the Wednesday blast. And speaking of the blast, it is the best way to keep up to date on all the events and activities of CVUUS. The blast will quietly arrive in your inbox every Wednesday when you supply your email to Laura in the office. And don't forget to look on the back of your order of service for more events. Now we will take our offering. We share our offering with community organizations that share our values. And this month we are sharing with Atria Collective, a local nonprofit serving people across the gender spectrum who experience sexual, domestic, or dating violence. Atria Collective works toward eliminating physical, sexual, and emotional violence through direct service, education, and social change. Please be as generous as you are able. Thank you.
We're going to sing from you right now. Thank you for your generosity. So this is a time in our service for milestones and passages. And if you're new in the future, if you're here, if you want something shared with the congregation, you can fill out one of these yellow cards and during the offertory put it in the basket. So we have one from Ian Christie. In today's spirit, I share the deep inspiration that came from last night on what we can do now. Title IX gave me the right to have women's sports, in which participation gave me the drive to push through near death, physical injuries, which is a rain of energy running through me this morning. This is from Colleen Brown and Doug Richards. We had a marvelous March Mediterranean feast last night at our house, welcoming CVUSers for an evening of food and conversation. It reminded us, oh, that's okay, he can talk. Reminding once again of how lucky we are to be part of this caring and generous community. Jake, is it Loven? Loven. If weather permits, the moon will turn red during the total lunar eclipse this Friday, March 14th. It will be happening throughout the entire United States. You can find more information about the phase of times for the eclipse on the website timeanddate.com. Thank you. And Ann Webster, shout out for creation and hanging of Beautiful Roots and Wings mobile. Yes. Thank you all for those amazing sharings. So hospitality begins inside of us, right? So this reading, which I know you heard a few weeks ago, and as Richard said, it's good to hear readings more than once, right? And this reading is about being hospitable to ourselves. So I'm going to read the reading, and it's The Guest House by 13th century Sufi poet Rumi. And after the reading, I'll ring the bell, and we'll sit in silence for a few minutes. The Guest House. This human being is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. I grew up in a very hospitable home. My mother was a homemaker and prided herself on tending to guests with food and drink, comfort and conversation. She would look into people's eyes and listen deeply, and then offer unsolicited advice. When I was a teenager, several of my friends had problems with their families and ended up living in our home for days, weeks, sometimes months at a time. My mother would mother them as she mothered me, offering love, support, counsel, clean sheets, and home-cooked meals. My mom's hospitality was deeper than a personality trait. It emerged from the Greek culture she was immersed in as a child, a culture that cared for family, friends, and strangers alike. About 7 or so years ago, my mom bumped into Lisa, an old friend of mine who lived with us for a few months. Lisa came from an unsafe home with many siblings, alcoholic father, depressed mother. As a teenager, she was lost and lonely, sweet and smart. Lisa, when she met up with my mom, thanked her for being such a great role model and told my mom she would not be the mother or person she is today without my mother's hospitality. Hospitality is a word with cultural and religious history. In ancient Greek society, a person's ability to abide by the laws of hospitality determined nobility and social standing. Judaism's practice of hospitality to strangers and guests comes from the book of Genesis. In addition to providing food and shelter to the guests, Celtic societies also ensured them protection from harm. Beginning in the 5th century, Christian monasteries were hospitality centers. Strangers in need went there for care. The first primitive hospitals, in fact, began there. Hospital, hospice, hospitable, hospitality, all from the same root word meaning generous, caring, sustaining. I would add love. All from the same. The most famous of these monasteries was, do you know? Famous monastery, named after a saint. Saint Benedict, right? Benedict created a book of rules to live by called the Rule of Benedict, which is still used today in many monasteries. Benedict instructed his monks, and they were all male, to welcome the divine in the stranger. He told them to look again, look deeper when you look into the eyes of strangers. If you want to be of great spirit, you can't do life alone, not secular life or spiritual life. To grow as people and as a community, we need others. We, UUs, Unitarian Universalists, have developed welcoming practices, right, for people of all beliefs, races, genders, cultures, sexualities, ages, and abilities. At times, our congregations are at the forefront of welcoming the guest, the other, the stranger, the estranged. And we are needed more now than ever. Our principles, especially our first, to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people, call us to the spiritual practice of hospitality. Our new values, with love at the center, help promote liberation, radical inclusion, and communal care both within our congregations and out in the community. Yet, because we are human, we judge and discriminate. We experience fear and foibles, and we have unresolved wounds in our hearts. Precisely because we are human, we are sometimes inhospitable. About a decade ago, I was privileged to experience a sabbatical during my ministry at First Parish in Portland. I was invited to preach for UU Fellowship in the Virgin Islands for a month. The deal was if I preached every Sunday, went to one event during the week, and offered pastoral care, they gave me a free apartment. Who wouldn't take the deal? Unfortunately, my short time in that fellowship was the most unwelcoming experience I have ever had. I won't bore you with all the details, but I will highlight the ways in which I felt unwelcome. When I arrived on the island and at my apartment, there was no welcome note, no food, no phone call to see if I had arrived or needed anything. 2, on my first Sunday, I was told to show up at 9:30 for the 10 o'clock service. I got there at 9:30, the building was locked. 2 women arrived around 9:50 and ignored me. During worship, another minister's name was on the chalkboard. After the first service, folks complained about each other to me. That afternoon in the apartment, when I got home, the power went out for 12 hours, which I later found out was typical, but I wasn't told. The next morning, the car I was renting from a man in the fellowship was gone. He called and said he took it back because I hadn't paid him in time, even though I told him I'd give him a check 2 days later at an event. All of this left me completely flabbergasted. I became really anxious, actually, and I knew I had to leave the island as quickly as possible. I can feel the anxiety in me as I'm talking about it right now. I did not feel welcome. I did not feel safe. I flew home the next day. I followed up with the UUA and the district when I got home and was told that the fellowship should not be considered part of the UUA. I thought, well, that makes it all okay, right? As it becomes more difficult to live in this insane world, as the earth and the cosmos move through challenging transformations we don't even know about, more and more people are out of balance, losing it, feeling isolated, feeling angry. They may use violence to express themselves, their unhealed wounds. This can occur in big ways, like a mass shooting, and in small ways, like being unkind to someone you know, or expressing a microaggression to a new person in our community. If we understand hospitality as a spiritual practice like the Benedictine monks, then the stranger, the newcomer, the lonely become our greatest spiritual teachers. In their book, Radical Hospitality, Daniel Holman and Lonnie Collins Pratt write, the stranger next door, at our door, is particularly frightening. People have been hurt by strangers. When we speak of the depth of hospitality, we're proposing something scary and radical, but it's worth the risk. Unless we find a way to open ourselves to others, we will grow even more isolated and frightened. If we do not find and practice ways of hospitality, we will grow increasingly hostile. Hospitality, they say, is the answer to hostility. Another story. A young man came to First Parish. He was distraught, lonely, in need of care and comfort. No one knew what to do with him. This was on a Sunday morning. Some people thought he was on drugs or suffered from mental illness. Neither were true. Many folks were afraid of him. He was black, male, and disheveled. He was an unexpected guest with a crowd of sorrows. A few of us sat down with him and listened to his story. Luke was a social worker and a musician from Burundi. Officials tried to kill him because of the human rights message in his songs. He escaped to New York seeking political asylum and then came to Maine because he heard Portland was a hospitable city. Over the years, we helped him set up a new home, improve his English, receive his citizenship, and get his wife and children to America. We learned so much from Luke. We offered him space, and change took place. He opened our hearts. Our hospitality transformed Luke and us and led us into the deep work of immigration justice. In her article, Grounding Virtues, Krista Tippett says, hospitality is a bridge to all the great virtues, but it is immediately accessible. She says, you don't have to love or forgive or feel compassion to extend hospitality. You, as a congregation, are incredibly hospitable, as Elio had said earlier. which is one of the many reasons why I love you so much. The hospitality occurring in the caring network, small group ministry, game night, Queerly Beloved, the singing circle, fellowship hour, and so much more is what makes CVUS a place people want to be. Your hospitality, your love, your generosity is also being expressed through the Roots and Wings campaign. Bravo to all of this, right? But my question for you is, who are we leaving out? Who is not being invited and welcomed into our community? Whose voices are we not hearing? How many of us come here on Sunday morning feeling lonely or lost? Thank you for raising your hand and being brave. I know there's more of you, and you're not raising your hand. Here's another question. Maybe you just come to be with a group of people you resonate with. I know you come for the music, you come for all reasons, right? And you probably are here because it's somewhere along the line you felt welcome, or you wouldn't be here. But what about the people who do not return, who brought their broken hearts but were treated inhospitable? It only takes one moment and one person to make someone feel unwelcome. But I think it takes an entire community to be a sanctuary or a monastery for the stranger, the friend, the lost, the seeker. Radical hospitality extends beyond acceptance, beyond mere kindness. It embodies a profound commitment to creating an environment where everyone feels valued and empowered. By fostering a culture of radical hospitality, we can dismantle barriers that often exclude marginalized groups, ensuring that every voice is heard and every person is welcomed. We actually worked on this yesterday at our social justice workshop. Earth-based African spiritualities practitioner and lifelong Unitarian Universalist, Reverend Jakaran Olaoya says, quote, "We Unitarian Universalists like to tell everyone that they're welcome. But I quickly realized that to be part of this community, I had to find a way to fit in, to not make waves about my needs. It's painful, physically and spiritually, to be silenced in an environment that encourages people to speak out against injustice. But it's something I deal with every day of my commitment to this faith community." Currently, more and more people are breaking out of the prison paradigm that some of our political and social systems are trying to keep us locked into. These systems want us to stay divided and even are cranking up division so to separate us from our own hearts and from each other. The good news is humanity is evolving. We are evolving. You are evolving into a stronger heart energy. And I know some of you feel that. Towards deeper connection. So as more people of the global majority are drawn to our faith, resonate with our theological freedom, especially the LGBTQI+ community and BIPOC people, we must extend radical hospitality. Not fear, not ambivalence. We must be curious and ask, what will help you feel welcome? Or how can we incorporate what's important to you? Hospitality is a spiritual practice, a way of becoming more human, a way of understanding ourselves. Hospitality is both the answer to modern alienation and injustice and a path to deeper spirituality. So let's be the religious community we are meant to be and take on hospitality as our spiritual practice in our homes, in our communities, and here in this beloved congregation. Let's keep finding ways to widen the circle of care and concern. Let's not just open our doors as an act of service, but open our hearts as an act of radical hospitality. May it be so.
Got to get the picks on for the banjo player. Hold on just a second. We're going to be singing a song called Fish and Bird. It's referred to as Whale in the program, but it's called Fish and Bird, and what was just reflected to us, it fits this song quite well. So I hope you'll enjoy it.
And never mind that a whale is technically not a fish.
They bought a round for the sailor, and they heard his tale of a world that was so far away, and a song that we'd never heard, a song of a little bird that fell in love with a whale. He said, "You cannot live in the ocean." And she said to him, "You never can live in the sky." But the ocean is filled with tears, and the sea sails into a mirror. There's a whale in the moon when it's clear, and a bird on the tide. Please don't cry, let me dry your eyes, and tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me in your arms, I promise we never will part. Then I'll never sail back to the time, but I'll always pretend that you're mine. Though I know that we both must part, you can live in my heart. must part. You can live in my heart.
Thank you.
I just want to express appreciation for returning musicians, Connie Leach and Chris Prickitt. Nice to have you here. And new musician, Ann Evans, so gracefully led us on the piano today. Thank you, Ann. And Kate Gridley, piano fill-in extraordinaire. Thank you, Kate. Oh, Christina's going to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, remembering always to keep love at the center. Our closing words are from the Unitarian Universalist Association publication called Braver, Wiser. You from whom all love, connection, and belonging flows, give us the bravery to examine honestly the cultures we create and uphold, the tenderness to question who they serve and who they leave out, and the willingness to make a new choice. May all be welcome at our table. Amen.
Two, three.
Well, you just made my heart sing. Thank you. So I just want to lift up thanks to the hidden people that make this worship service happen, right? Mary Hadley and Dorothy Mammen and Abi Sessions and Richard, who made the slideshow. Thank you all. And I don't know if anyone thanked you, Abby. Liam thanked you. Oh, Liam? I don't think he did anything for this service. Oh, well, Liam always does the slides. Yes, Liam. Thank you for the slides. So everyone is invited downstairs. There's food. And thank you all for bringing food. And of course, we thank the people that are downstairs now, right, who aren't even here, who are prepping the food for us to go and eat. So hopefully I'll see you downstairs, and have a beautiful day.
So we can unmute now, or we can listen to whatever's on the microphone.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Francois.
Yeah,
Or I
man.
should say, Sir Francois.
Yeah, what about that? Listen, or Maestro, that last banjo piece was absolutely stunning. I loved it.
Yes.
I could have listened to it for another half hour.